Hello everybody, I'm Mike, CTO and co-founder at ColdStack, and before we move to our React Native Show podcast, I have a quick announcement to say that might be something that is interesting to you. Today I'm looking for the best React Native developers to join my team. Besides working on high-end software used by millions, we also contribute to open source projects such as React Native Paper, React Native Testing Library, or Re.Pack. And so you will have an opportunity to develop your skills and knowledge within these projects, as well as move your own ideas into life by taking part in our R&D program. We are a great team full of React Native crazy people about this technology, and we can't wait to share our knowledge and experience with you. And so if this sounds like something exciting, don't wait anymore and join us. It's great to be part of such a team. Check out the link below and apply, and I'm hoping to see you soon in our ColdStack office or maybe remotely depending on your location. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone in React Native Show podcast. Today we are going to try something new than usually. First, we have a new host. That is me. I'm Łukasz, and I will introduce myself and my guest later. But first, let me introduce you to the new style of podcast that we thought of can be interesting for you. So usually we take some subject and we discuss that in detail for 40 minutes or so. Today we thought we will do something different. We will take a look at the broad spectrum of state of React Native. So the way I see it, we have two different realms. We have core React Native stuff, which are like releases, big companies that are involved, Facebook, Microsoft, maybe Hermes, architecture stuff like that. In the second part, we will take a look at the community realm. So the conference that we held a few weeks ago in Wrocław in ColdStack, and also some updates about the libraries. So yeah, let me introduce myself. I'm Łukasz. I'm a software developer working in ColdStack. I joined ColdStack a few months ago, and let me tell you, this is another level of company. I'm learning something new every day here. And I encourage you to join me, Janek, and Satya in our team. Go to our career page on our ColdStack page. Yeah, and let's move on to introducing my guest today. First is Satya. You may know Satya from React Navigation, from our conference, and from previous episodes of React Native Show. Satya, can you say something more about yourself?
Yeah, hello, I'm Satya. I'm a front-end developer at ColdStack, and I've been working with React Native since React Native Android has been released. And I have been also working on a lot of React Native libraries like React Navigation, React Native Paper, Hall, and many other libraries like React Native Tab View. Yeah, so I'm really excited to be in this podcast today, and excited to discuss about the new updates in React Native, because I think it has come a very long way since it first started.
Thank you, Satya. Next up is Janek, who is just like me, first time on this show. Janek.
Hello, I'm Jan. I'm a software developer at ColdStack. I joined last year. And this is the first time that I am doing a podcast, so it's really exciting to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, sure. I'm excited to have you here because I think we can jump into our first topic, and I think you have to say you have something to say about the new React Native 0.65.
Sure. So React Native 65 is another upgrade for React Native, and it was released last month. And there are some exciting stuff that I will talk about. First is a new version of Hermes that is bundled with this version. it introduces new garbage collector that is much faster than the previous one, and also there is now native support for INTL, so there is no need for polyfills. So I think many developers in our community will be really happy, because it will make possible to use Hermes in their apps without having to do through any customizations. And I heard that even with polyfills, there were some issues.
Let me maybe just add something to this new garbage collector. The name of the garbage collector is Hades, which I guess will stick in with the Greek gods theme here. And Hades is a garbage collector that is promised to bring us 30-fold decrease in pause time in our application. So pause time is time that application is stopped from running by garbage collector, so the garbage collector can do its job. And they figured, creators of Hades figured that they can move some of the work that the garbage collector is doing to another thread, to some background thread, so that the pause time is much shorter than it was in previous garbage collector that was used in Hermes. So that's that.
I think this is really exciting, and it's another step for Hermes to become a default engine for React Native in the future.
Definitely.
Moreover, there is also one more exciting stuff to talk about Hermes, is that it now works on M1 Max. So if you are planning to buy a new Mac, or you already have it, but you couldn't use it due to that, now it's possible, and I think many developers will enjoy improved performance both of new Macs and Hermes engine.
Yeah, definitely. I think Satya said it some time ago that the new M1 Max should have similar stickers to Intel Inside. So it should say something like it runs Hermes, basically.
Yeah. Really exciting times coming.
Yeah, I've been holding off on buying this M1 MacBook because there are so many issues with everything. Now there is one less issue, so I should buy it soon.
I think we should ask our marketing team to produce some stickers for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Good idea.
Yeah. Okay, anything else in this React Native 65 update, Janek?
Yes, there are some small updates to accessibility. This is just a continuation of work that Facebook pledged with their GAD pledge last year, and this is still ongoing, and I think this is such a great project that users and also developers have an easier time to implement proper accessibility support.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that this field should be looked at more carefully by developers, and this pledge and this work that Facebook has been doing over the past year or so, it's been very important.
So maybe we should now talk about React Native Windows update, because it dropped simultaneously with iOS and Android, and it also has some nice features. Do you have anything about it, Satya?
Yeah, definitely. There have been so many new things in React Native Windows recently. As we know, Microsoft is working on React Native Windows. They use it in their products like Office. So the very recent thing is now React Native Windows releases simultaneously with iOS and Android. So we don't have to wait for a React Native Windows update after React Native for iOS and Android has released. In addition to that, the upgrade helper tool, which allows us to see the difference between the previous version of React Native and new version and upgrade our apps, also supports React Native for Windows. So that is one less thing to worry about when upgrading our apps. Then there is also code push support in React Native Windows. So now we can update our React Native Windows apps remotely.
And this feels actually very natural to have code push in React Native Windows, because code push is a Microsoft maintained technology, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's part of Microsoft App Center.
Yeah.
So yeah. In addition to those things, there is also better documentation and there are more feature parity. They are now adding new APIs that was missing before. Like for example, Pressable. It was missing in React Native Windows, but it was there in iOS and Android. Now they have added those APIs to React Native Windows. In addition to that, they have added experimental support for binary distribution of React Native Windows, which means we don't have to compile it from source every time, which will reduce the disk size, reduce the compilation time, and make everything faster and smaller. And in addition to that, we also have improved Hermes support. Hermes can now be integrated with React Native Windows like very easily without having to do anything complex build script setup. And we can also debug and profile Hermes in React Native Windows directly, like we can do for iOS and Android. That's pretty nice that we don't need to like do anything complex to set up Hermes now. So in addition to Hermes, there are also two more other things that React Native Windows team has been doing. There is a Fluent UI, which is a new UI language in Windows 11. And there is now a library for React Native, which allow us to implement Fluent UI. So we can use Fluent UI library to implement native apps for Windows. In addition to Fluent UI, we also have XML UI controls, which is a common way of building UI in Windows. In addition to that, the Microsoft team has been doing a lot of contributions to community libraries and adding React Native Windows support. They have sent pull requests to, for example, React Native Video, React Navigation, React Native Screens, and many other libraries adding Windows support. So we can use those libraries seamlessly when we're using React Native Windows.
Yeah, and I think that's a great thing for them to do, because like probably previously we had to, if we have a multi-platform project, we have to use two different navigation libraries, which is not ideal. But right now we can use just one for every platform that we want to run.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome because yeah, earlier we had to create separate components for .windows, .native for Windows and other things.
Yeah. And another thing that I want to add to this topic is that there is like a separate, maybe not separate, but on React Native library directory, there are 70 dedicated libraries for React Native Windows. So if you are playing around with React Native Windows, you should definitely check them out. Khaled from Microsoft, that was on our conference, mentioned that there are many libraries that are directed to React Native Windows. I think that wraps it up. So let's move to our next topic from core React Native updates. And our next topic is React Native blog blitz. And I named this section that because we had 4 different blog posts from Facebook, from React Native team, since they dropped React Native v65. And this is unprecedented because in this year we have 9 posts and 5 of them were released like in a month. And a year ago in 2020, we had only 4 blog posts in a whole year. So I think that shows that Facebook and React Native team is taking developer communication very seriously right now. And actually, this is also something that they stressed in some of the things that they're saying in the blog posts. So I'm not gonna read out loud the blog posts. I think you can go there and read it for yourself. But let's just quickly recap the titles. So the titles are React Native in H2, React Native's many platform vision, React Native is hiring managers to expand beyond mobile, and preparing your app for iOS 15 and Android 12. And I think we should start from the end, because it's gonna play nicely with our episode structure. So preparing your app for iOS 15 and Android 12. Do any of you have something to say about this topic?
Yeah, I think this is the first time that React Native team published such an article, and I think it's a really good idea because it allows developers to prepare for changes that come up with new OS versions, and it makes their work easier. And thankfully, from what I read, these changes are not really big, but it's good to know beforehand and not have any surprises and have to look around the internet what might have been broken.
Yeah, definitely. Like those iOS 15 and Android 12 versions are not even, they don't even have a release date yet at the time we record this. So this is a great thing from React Native team that they allow us to prepare our application for the upcoming OS releases. Yeah, and I think that's it. Let's move forward to 2 other blog posts which are related to multi-platform nature of React Native. And those are React Native's many platform vision and React Native is hiring managers to expand beyond mobile. So in those 2 posts, I think we can see the push from React Native team to unify platforms. So basically, we have had those platforms for some times now. We have React Native Web, we have like React Native VR, which was, I think before it was called React Native 360. Right now we have Microsoft with big push with React Native Windows and React Native macOS. So this just shows that React Native team wants to implement those platforms in a like unified way, but at the same time still embrace like different requirements and different constraints on each of them.
I'm also excited about this multi-platform initiative and all of this move towards multi-platform support, because I think it's going to improve the DX and also user experience a lot, because right now a lot of apps are using Electron to implement multi-platform apps, but now there is React Native, so we can have native UI, super fast and energy efficient UI, and we don't need to deal with heavy Electron-based apps if this is a success.
Yes,
Yeah.
when I was sometimes go through Twitter, I found some really interesting tweets that compare performance of Electron apps and React Native apps and how much of an improvement it is. I think we will link it in the description down below. So if you are interested in it, check it out.
Yeah, and one other point in the same area is that Facebook is rewriting their Messenger desktop apps for macOS and for Windows from Electron to React Native Windows and React Native macOS. And they shared that the performance increase is very significant, and like memory requirements drop down. So yeah, so I think it's huge. Electron was a good thing for a while, but right now we can finally move on to develop native application for desktop.
Yeah, I think because um, React Native embraces platform constraints, it makes it easier for users and also developers to make the experience consistent with the whole system. And because there are always differences between iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, it makes it so much better than the Electron app that often could look out of place.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that was many platforms vision. And now we are moving to the biggest of them all, which is React Native in H2. So in the introduction to this blog post, Facebook team is sharing with us their like development cycle, and they are working in halves of a year. So in the first half of this year, they were preparing something really cool that we will share with you in a while. But in the second half of this year, they want to bring all of that to the community. So basically, H2 is a bunch of promises to developers. I encourage you to go there and read all of them. So you can check in H1 of 2022 if those promises were fulfilled. But one of those is increasing community engagement and community communication. So that's why I think we see those posts that new OSs are coming. Be aware, something is changing, and there are going to release some new documentation about new architecture that's like it exists in React Native master branch right now, and it has been for over a year probably. But like everyday developers like me and Yannick, probably we don't know how to use it yet. We need some documentation. We need some hard data to base our development work on. So they are going to release it in H2. So I think we should move to like the new architecture, because it is very much connected with the new architecture. And maybe a quick recap of what is this new architecture that, let me remind you, this was announced like 3 years ago, and we still don't see any documentation about it. So Satya, can you share few sentences about what it is and how it will improve our lives?
Yeah, definitely. So the new architecture has like 3 different things called JSI, Fabric, and Turbo modules. JSI is basically a JavaScript interface which allows us synchronous access between the JavaScript engine and native code. So we can share objects and different kind of data directly between the JavaScript engine and native code. Before that, currently we have a bridge. So whenever we want to share data, it needs to be converted to JSON and passed through the bridge. So now the bridge will be gone, and there will be only a JSI. So there will be no extra overhead. Everything will be much faster, and we'll have synchronous access instead of everything being asynchronous. So JSI is the base of Fabric and Turbo modules. Turbo modules are native modules which use JSI, and Facebook also has a library called React Native CodeGen, which allows us to generate native bindings for these Turbo modules using TypeScript or Flow definitions. Similarly, Fabric is the implementation of native components using JSI. So it allows us to update components synchronously and receive updates from those components synchronously. This is going to improve the UI responsiveness a lot. and overall make everything faster and smoother.
Yeah, great. So just to add something here, I think this GSI is already used in some libraries. Am I correct?
Yeah, there are a couple of libraries already. One of the biggest library using JSI is React Native Reanimated. In version 1, they had a complete DSL for writing animations, but now in Reanimated 2, we can write plain JavaScript, and that uses JSI to directly share data between JavaScript and native code. So we have like very declarative and full control of animations, which is awesome. And in addition to Reanimated, there are also two other libraries called React Native MMKV, which is a storage library which allows us to store data super fast using JSI. And in addition to that, there is another library called React Native Vision Camera. It's a camera processor, so you can write frame processors to process your camera frames. And is also using JSI, so it's completely synchronous, and you can write 60 FPS transformation using JSI, so you can implement filters or anything you want. So
So like the vision camera stuff we had on our conference, so we will link all that knowledge, and like the new architecture announcements were also happening on some of our conferences from a few years ago. So I think we'll link that below as well. So what went maybe not wrong, maybe not what went wrong, but why did we have to wait so much time? And we don't see it yet. Like I haven't seen a documentation about it yet. Yeah, Yannick, can you please help me out with this?
Yeah, so Joshua presented a deep dive into process that went into introducing new architecture to React Native, and they at first they thought that it will take only 6 months, but then they quickly find out that it's not such an easy task. So they decided to do it internally first in their Facebook application, and they were testing and checking if there are no regression bugs and slowdowns and any crashes for users, because they have over 1,000 surfaces, it was quite a process, but thanks to that they were able to catch a lot of edge cases, and now they announced that this process is finally complete. So
yeah, and I guess it's a great thing that we have this two huge, like one of the biggest companies in the world behind our framework, Microsoft and Facebook, so that we know that like Facebook is running master branch of React Native. They aren't running the 0.60 something as we do. They run master. So every time something is merged to master, they test it on all of their users, basically. So over the last year, they were implementing GSI in their, like Yannick said, over 1,000 surfaces. And the way they did it is they had actually to maintain both approaches at the same time. So old architecture and new architecture. And they were running A/B tests on users to see how much the new implementation helped, if it worked, or what else is there to fix, so that when they finally release it, we know that it's been tested already. So we are not testing it on our user. It is already tested, so we know that it is something that will work.
Yeah, and just to add, another point, the new architecture is written in C++, and compared to the previous one, there is only a single implementation, while currently each platform has to have their own implementation, which increases chance of having platform-specific bugs. It also requires a lot more maintenance, and it is harder to introduce new platforms in this manner. So I think as we talked about the many visions platform, this will really accelerate the overall adoption.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to playing around with the new architecture. And I know that there are some information about it already in the internet, but I'm looking forward to seeing the proper one from React Native team.
Yeah, official documentations and tutorials will be really welcome.
Yeah.
I think.
And that was the promise in H2 from React Native team. So keep it up, guys. Like, I want to see it. Please bring it to me. Okay, I think that is a wrap on our first section in this episode. The first section was core React Native updates. And now we are moving to our second section, which is React Native community updates. So in this section, we'll take a look what is happening in the community. So let me start with saying that last month, like in the beginning of this month, 2nd of September, we had a React Native EU conference. That was a fifth one. We held it online. Unfortunately, hopefully in the next year we can meet in person. But let me share you just some stats of it. Almost 10,000 people registered. So we are really happy to see this kind of participation from all of you. And the participants were from more than 140 countries. So I'm not sure how many countries there are, but that seems like a lot. So thank you very much for confidence and for trusting us. We had 2 days, 15 hours of talks, and all of them will be available on our YouTube channel, CallStack Engineers. So either it is available right now or it will be in the future. So you can catch up on those and let us know what you think. We had 23 talks and 24 speakers. One talk was conducted by 2 speakers at once. And in the peak moment, we had more than 1,000 people watching at the same time. So that's great. So yeah, I wanted to ask you guys, Satya, Yannick, what was your takeaway from this conference? What talk did you like the most? Did something surprise you?
There were a lot of great talks, but the talk I was most interested in was the talk about JSI, because there have been so little information about JSI.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, it was really nice to see how it's actually working, how it is implemented, and seeing how the vision camera library works. Yeah.
I really like the introduction and deep dive into how the new architecture was implemented and at what stage we are and when we can expect it. And also, I really like the presentation from our friend Zamotany about Re.Pack, which I will talk about in a minute.
So yeah, I agree with you guys. Satya, Yannick, those 2 talks that you mentioned and Zamotany's one were like exceptional. They were on really high level, and I will add just one more to this bunch, which is Caleb from Microsoft, who was talking about bringing React Native Windows and React Native macOS to a wider audience and the challenges that they have with it, and how the React Native is working in Microsoft, in Office, in like PowerPoint, Word, etc. But and those were great. I'm really satisfied that I watched it live, and I saw the discussion on Discord at the same time, so that we can have even deeper understanding, because speakers were answering question live. So I encourage every one of you listeners to join us on Discord next time we have a conference. Join us right now. We communicate on Discord all of the time. But one other talk that I want to mention, which was very surprising for me, was Milita, and she was talking about coming to the React Native for the first time. And I was watching the conference with few of my friends in our CallStack office, and we are all power users. So this wasn't new to us. This was like this was something that we know. But in the Discord channel, when this talk was conducted, people were really excited, and I think that we should have this understanding that our technology that we use, React Native, is not that well known, probably outside our bubble. So we really need those kind of introduction talks as well, to bring more developers in and to bring more faces and heads to our development cycle. Okay. I think that wraps our React Native EU summary. If you haven't seen it, go to YouTube and see it again, and see it for the first time or see it again. Let's jump to libraries. And we are fortunate enough that we have Satya with us. Satya, can you talk about your navigation library?
Yeah, sure. So we recently released React Navigation 6, and it's an incremental update over React Navigation 5. The highlights of this release are a lot of polish, simplifying a lot of APIs, but also new features like transparent model and group. And there are also a lot of small changes. You can check out blog post where I go in detail about all of the changes. Another big change in this release was also native stack, which is from Software Mansion, who made React Native screens. And we made native stack the default way to set up navigation in a React Native app. So now when you set React Navigation from the scratch, it is a fully native navigation, which is going to give a much better performance and much better user experience.
And like you said in our first section, the Microsoft is helping you with implementing this stuff for React Native Windows as well, right?
Yeah. So React Navigation already runs on React Native Windows. It doesn't have like complete feature parity, but it already runs. So it keeps improving.
That's great. So you can learn more about React Navigation from our blog posts, from Satya's presence on our React Native EU conference, and from his React Native show from few months ago. Another library worth mentioning that is also created here at CallStack is called Re.Pack, and it's actually created by my friend from team, Zamotane. And I'll ask Yannick to give us a quick overview what it is. And yeah, please, Yannick.
Sure. So Re.Pack is an alternative bundler for React Native. The default one is Metro, and Re.Pack uses Webpack under the hood. It is a successor to Whole. It improves on it by allowing users to specify their own config, and there is no need for library maintainers to add new features because it's transparent for them. So one of the interesting feature is it allows to create app developers multiple bundles for their app, and this is something new for React Native developers, but it is something that is very well known in the web world. So
yeah. So just a quick disclaimer: I played with it for the first time just last night, and I can share some thoughts. I'm not a Webpack user by default. I used it a couple of times, but I don't feel like I know everything about Webpack. But let me tell you, the setup of it was pretty simple. The steps required are well described. You basically have to like add Webpack config and add some lines to your React Native config, then change two files, one for Android and one for iOS, and you're ready to go. And then when you're ready to go, you start your bundler and you don't see Metro. You see Webpack, which is quite funny because I'm used to seeing Webpack only in web projects. But yeah, so Webpack is a bit slower than Metro when bundling, but it's much more configurable. So yesterday I created two separate apps with the same code inside, with dynamic import of one component. And this one component that was dynamically imported, I made it 20 megabytes. I just copied some lorem ipsum in there several thousand times, and it had 20 megabytes. So I can assure you that the startup time of Re.Pack prepared React Native application was much shorter than startup time of pure React Native application bundled with Metro. So this is my first-hand experience. I encourage you to go there and check it out. It is very simple to set up, and the new features are coming, but you can already use it in your projects to have some benefits from the code splitting and from faster startup times. We just told you, our dear listeners, about the two libraries that people from ColdStack are maintaining. And I think this is a good time to remind you that you could collaborate with us. We encourage you again to go to our careers page and join us here in ColdStack. Or you can also help us maintaining our libraries. So Satya, actually, you are maintaining a huge library. Do you want to add something to this call for maintainers?
Well, I mean, sponsor, send pull requests, and most important part is go to the issue tracker and reply to issues, because that helps a lot when you can help other people in the community, because the maintainers don't always have time to do that. So that is the most important contribution, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like, don't get discouraged and think, oh, I don't know enough to create a PR to some project. Just last night when I started working with Re.Pack, I found a bug in a README page, and I created a small PR just fixing two links, which is also a contribution. So I'm happy to say that I'm a contributor to Re.Pack now. Yeah. So our last item on the list in our second section, React Native community updates, is Expo 42. And Satya, I know that you are close with this technology, so maybe you can share some updates with us.
Yeah, I think like it's pretty cool. When you go to React Native website, the first way you start learning React Native is using Expo. So there have been a lot of limitations in Expo before, but recently they have done a lot of things to remove those limitations. For example, there is something called Expo Dev Client, where you can integrate native code, custom native code, which you could not do before. They have added something called Expo config plugins, which allow you to integrate things like payment systems, or like any kind of native code you might imagine, which improves the like usability of Expo a lot. because it no longer limits you from what you can do. Another thing is EAS build, which is still in beta as far as I know. You can use, it's a service that you can use to build your React Native apps and Expo apps on Expo's cloud. So you don't even need a MacBook or like a set up the development environment to do it, which is pretty cool, I think, because setting up the development environment is always so much work.
Yeah, definitely. When you start working on some technology, it's very important that it's very easy for you to get in and try it out and see how it goes without jumping through hoops with like environment setup.
Yeah, and another cool thing I like about EAS is not only build, you can also submit your apps directly to App Store from from the command line. It just asks you a few things and it does everything for you. It's like really simple to use. Yeah,
Okay.
that is all.
Thank you very much, Janek. Thank you very much, Satya. That was our last subject for today. So let's wrap this up. Thank you, listeners, for listening to us for this long. I hope you liked this episode. Give us a thumbs up if you did. Let us know what you liked about it and what you didn't, and we'll try to bring more updates from core React Native and from community to you as soon as possible. Thanks again, and see you next time.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, and see you next time. Bye.
Yeah, bye.